Yes, thank you. Today's public hearing, anytime we have a federal grant or federal grants, we need to have a public hearing to talk about basically planning. And so today we're going to bring you ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. We previously had ESSER 1. We've spent all those funds last year. So ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 we've been working on since last July. And then we will bring also today the ESSA grant. ESSA is our regular title grants that we receive every year in our federal funds. And so we're going to give you an update of where we are compared to last year, moving into next fiscal year. I just want to give a special thanks to Frances Barcenas. You know, she left the position of external funds and grant management person for the district, and we have replaced her with Loretta Zavala. But Frances has been mentoring and helping us transition. One big thing is that the ESSA grants have brought on a lot of additional work, a lot of compliance pieces, and this is one of them. And so I'm going to turn it over to Loretta. She's going to walk you through some of the changes we're asking the board to take a look at in this public hearing in the public, and then we will bring this as an action item at a regular board meeting that concludes after the public hearing. So Loretta.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Let me get it. You got it, Roger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There you go.
So we want to start this afternoon with the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 grants. Okay. So as you've probably seen, ESSER 2 had an allocation of $14,664,502. Of that, we have spent to date $5,836,671. ESSER 3 was considerably more at $32,934,389, and we've spent $12,068,015 of the ESSER 3 funds. Now, when ESSER first came about, part of the requirements that they had was that a committee be formed to discuss the different topics that we wanted to fund. And when the committee met, the items that they decided that we were going to put our money into were learning loss, targeted interventions, operations and continuity, CDC mitigation, leadership, and well-rounded education. Additionally, one of the requirements of the ESSER grant is that we review our plan at a minimum of every 6 months. We can review before then, but for sure every 6 months. So that's what we really want to do today. What you will see are some minor, some amendments that have some minor verbiage tweaks, and you'll see a request for changing the funding amounts for activities that have been pre-approved. I'd like to start with ESSER 2, and just for your own knowledge, ESSER 2 has a grant life that ends next year, September 30th. So considering we have not spent probably a little less than half for sure, we really want to look at moving some funds around so that we are utilizing them and putting them in areas that we know we're going to spend out. And I'll talk about that as we get to each one. So the first area that we are looking at requesting a move of funds is in the tutoring area. We originally had $2 million, but we want to reduce it down to $175,000. Now, part of the reason for that is that we really have not touched this fund because there are other buckets of money that campuses use to fund their tutoring. So we've done a lot of tutoring this year, but we really haven't touched ESSER 2 funds because there were other monies to utilize first. We also want to look at reducing the amounts in the virtual learning. We did virtual learning this year, but going forward, as of now, the plan is not to continue with virtual learning, so we want to move funds from that account and leave the $400,000 that have been spent to date in there. We're also looking at the instructional materials, which are the textbooks. The Curriculum Instruction Department has already purchased some items this year. That is the $590,000 that you see there. We are looking at moving the rest of their money, so when textbooks come around again, we will be purchasing that from the ESSER 3 accounts. When I talk about moving money, everybody wants to know where's the money going to go. This is the plan that we'd like for you to consider. We want to move the funds into the operational costs. This is where we get our retention incentives. This is where our ESSER 2 payroll comes from. It's all out of this account. CDC mitigations and safety, this one, you'll look at it, we're looking at removing pretty much everything that's there with the exception of $5,000. And the reason for that is because we received an additional grant earlier this year that covers exactly this. So everything we would have purchased from this account is covered under the separate grant. On targeted interventions, we are looking at removing $500,000 from the transportation and food for the extended day. And again, this is an account that really has not been utilized to this point because there were other ways of funding it. And then well-rounded education is staying as is. For ESSER 3, the changes we want to look at here are in learning loss for elementary, reducing the amount of additional support personnel to $3,375,000 and reducing the tutoring funds to $100,000. And remember, we also had those other tutoring funds outside of ESSER, plus there was still the ESSER 2. We're looking at reducing junior high learning loss for additional support personnel to $1,785,000 and reducing their tutoring down to $25,000. Again, when the money is being taken out, we are looking at putting it in the operational costs, which does include the payroll, so that would be increased to $14 million, just over $14 million. In CDC mitigations, we are striking through the COVID and PCR tests because we really have not utilized that money. But should we decide we want to test, that same grant that I spoke about earlier that covers PPE will also cover COVID testing if we decide to go back to that. In social emotional supports, one minor tweak in the verbiage here. We want to make sure that when we partner, we can do it internally and provide services in district without having to send somebody out for referral services. And that is all for the ESSER. Under ESSA, in Title I, we're looking at $408, and Title I money is utilized to help make sure that our students are receiving a quality education and are proficient on our state standards and our state testing. Title I Part C, which is for our migrant students, we're looking at receiving $36,942. Title II Part A, this is for improving our teachers, principals, and assistant principals. We are looking at an amount of $576,281. And then for Title III, which is for our limited English proficient students, $235,319. And then for Title IV, Title IV is for the well-rounded education, for the maintaining of safe and healthy students, and then also for improving the use of our technology. That amount is $311,592. And so with all these funds, I just wanted to show you, and I put it in red, and at second thought, I probably should have put it in a different color, but it is an additional $41,209 than what we received this year. Some of the grant amounts went up, some others dropped, but when you total it all together, we were $41,209 ahead of where we were this year in receiving the grant amounts.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that this is our normal grants, like we would see previous years. The ESSERs are, like very limited in time. So part of the scope of the ESSER grants was ESSER 2 we need to spend by next September. So part of the planning was how do we allocate the funds to get to where we can maximize the money and expend them in time. ESSER 3 we still do have a little bit more time, but based on what we're seeing in our budgets and our deficits and trying to work and maintaining what we have, we're still continuing with buying furniture, we're still continuing with playgrounds, we're still trying to do things and buying curriculum and textbooks, but right now we've used some other funds to cover tutoring, we've used other funds to cover some of the other things that we had in the plan, and like example, school and safety, grant, the health grant that we received. We didn't have to buy a lot of COVID items with this grant, with these grants at this point. So we'll continue. This is a evolving document. It changes. We get in 6 months from now, we have something that we need to move around. We will come back, we'll form the committee, and then we'll bring it to the board.
I have a quick question. The 11 million that we are going to put into operations from ESSER two, and ESSER three, we're gonna move money to operations from ESSER three?
We're going to move monies, and from ESSER three, we're moving monies into operations as well, to kind of plan for the future, the following year. Based on what we're looking at is, to help with the deficit in the general fund, I'm possibly gonna be funding about $5 million in payroll. And at the same time, if the board would like to continue to give incentives, each time we do the $1,000 incentive, it's $2 million, so if we do 2 of them, it's $4 million. And so, to do that in the next 2 years, we need to maximize our resources with the ESSERs to cover those.
So we're potentially pulling out 9 million from the ESSER three into operations?
In the following year, to
Right.
cover year 2 once
The
we get
one that's
that.
coming.
Yeah, I say this based on, I don't know what enrollment in ADA is going to be over the
Right.
next year. If it comes back and our ADA is strong, our enrollment grows a little,
Mhm.
then we can reduce that. But if we continue, if like this year we give a raise and then we wanna give retention stipends, that's pretty much what we'll need to cover, and then at the same time, we're still dealing with the deficit.
But pretty much all the money that we're pulling out of ESSER two and three are going into, staffing.
Yes.
Yes, and our retention stipends or payroll.
Yes,
Right,
that's
yeah.
what I meant. And then what about the 30 hours that we're supposed to give children that are behind? Are we leaving enough money in to cover that?
Yes, we do.
100%?
Yes, and so we have our comp ed, so we want, because comp ed and Title I, we are required to spend those. And so we wanna make sure with those funds that we're spending those out first, and then
Yes.
we're going to the ESSER grants.
But we're leaving that in
Correct.
place.
Cause that one right there, you know, it's, at some point, we have to make all this work within the district, and so moving too much stuff around, we found that some campuses have got creative,
Mhm.
and their tutoring is not necessarily after school where we have to pay different rates.
Right.
They've worked it out in their master schedule, so and we get this a lot with tutoring, is we give them a big budget and then they don't
Yeah.
put a dent in it. And so, I think we have enough funds, and if we feel like we don't, we'll go back and amend it and add more money, probably to ESSER three.
Okay.
Cause we're trying to figure out how we can get rid of ESSER two next year and get that grant off our
When's the
books.
deadline for ESSER two?
September 30th of 2023.
2023.
Oh,
So we
we
have
have
one,
another year.
we have
Yes.
1 year, but we're trying to plan to spend that 9 million in this next year, but also offset some of the budget issues that we're facing.
One more question. And so if we're, taking 11 million and 9 million, that's 20 million out of ESSER for payroll, what does that leave us?
That for,
From the both ESSERs?
so we take 9 million from ESSER three,
Uh-huh.
well, that's what we have we have about 9 million. left.
Potentially, right.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at 11 million for ESSER two, so that's 20 million together.
Correct.
So how much are we like actually leaving?
Right now, we have.
Around 26 million, give or
Okay.
take.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, those together.
My question is that we went to the community, got the community feedback through our meetings that we just recently had. What was the feedback from them to say what we should be doing with the ESSER funds?
A lot of it was, there was some things that were suggested, like they wanted to see if we could get additional police officers, but ESSER does not cover that. It's related to COVID safety. There was requests for, I guess, building libraries and things. There were requests that really didn't apply to ESSER. There were requests for additional staff, but that money is already in here, so those types of things were already covered. There, like I said, there were some things that were requests that really we could not do based on the guidelines of how the grant is the intention of the grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're complete if
So
any more
now,
questions.
do we have any public comment or questions for Esther? No? Okay, so we're gonna adjourn this meeting and we're gonna open another meeting, and that is District of Innovation.
So you're going to feel like you have some deja vu, that we have seen this a couple times in the last couple months. And so we want to give you some clarification on this. As he's getting ready to set that up, I just wanna go ahead and set the parameters for this.
DOI?
We went
Needs to
ahead
put his
and
presentation
submitted our,
Oh, there it is. It
we went ahead and submitted our DOI plan to TEA, we received feedback. In June 13th of 2017, when we submitted the plan, because this date today is the 21st and there's an 8-day gap, we cannot submit a renewal. We will need to submit a new plan. So the same parameters that we had before, where we had a public hearing, which we'll do that now. You'll have an item of information to the board, which we will cover quickly because you'll hear it twice in one day. We had the public meetings, we took it to the DIT again as a new plan, and then after which, we will go ahead and bring it to the July board for approval. So this will probably be the 4th, 5th, 6th time you get to see this same plan, but now it's listed as a new plan as opposed to a renewal.
So when we covered, good evening, everyone. So when we covered the proposed plan earlier, when we were going through the renewal process, we actually talked a little bit about the process that was utilized for creating the plan or actually getting it renewed. And now because we're following a different plan, I'm going to still kind of cover the process, talk about the steps, still emphasize the steps that we used to actually develop the plan, and then focus a little bit more on the exemptions that I know you've heard a little bit about already. So as mentioned before, we did work as part of an innovation committee to create or to develop this new plan. And we worked together from with individuals from various divisions and departments. We had parents represented in our committee, and we also had a community member as well who was part of the planning that took place and the development that occurred as a result of that planning. And so the steps, we actually held meetings with our District of Innovation Committee. We talked about the plan. We actually presented the plan to our district improvement team at least twice, and then we also presented the plan in an open parent meeting as well. So there were several steps that we followed to make sure that people were aware of the work and had input and provided input and feedback regarding the work that was done to develop this particular plan. So I want to actually go through the exemptions that are actually a part of the new District of Innovation plan and talk a little bit about the rationale for each. The first exemption is the school calendar change, which basically allows the district flexibility to determine the start date locally and to determine a date that's based on what is best for students and the community. And it allows us the ability to actually look at existing schedules schedules of other districts, and to also look at the schedules of our colleges, because I know that we also want to consider college classes, their schedules, because of the dual credit courses and opportunities that we offer some of our students. So the school calendar exemption is one that we've included in this particular plan. Probationary contracts are another exemption that we have also included in the plan. And what this does is this actually extends the 1-year probationary period to a 2-year probationary period for teachers who may have some teaching experience but are new to Southwest ISD, and a 3-year probationary period for those teachers who are completely new to teaching. So this flexibility allows us to utilize the growth model that we have in place to gather additional data so that we can best support teachers in the area of instruction and just overall growth. So, campus behavior coordinators. Recent legislation does require us to actually identify a campus behavior coordinator on each campus. And what we're seeking here is an exemption to allow campuses in our district to actually utilize more of a team approach when it comes to addressing student behaviors. So again, rather than having one person address the behaviors for a campus of maybe 1,800 students, 2,000 students, allowing for a team approach gives the campus greater flexibility, especially when it comes to developing programs for supporting students in efforts to address behaviors. And it also provides opportunities for us to take a more restorative approach to, again, addressing some of those student behaviors that we might see on a campus. The class size waiver is another exemption that we are seeking. Classes in kinder through 4th grade are required to maintain a 22-to-1 ratio, And what we're seeking here is some flexibility to go a little bit above that and to cap our classes at 23-1. The reason why we do that is because we know that sometimes with students entering a particular campus or coming into a particular campus, the need to actually go to 23-1 is sometimes beneficial. Normally what we would have to do if we exceeded 22 is submit a waiver to TEA, notify parents. Well, this exemption gives us a little bit of flexibility to hold off on doing that, because what we find a lot of times is that while a particular class does go to 23-1, what we find out is in the process of submitting the waiver and waiting for approval, we find that that class has gone back down to 22-1. So the 23-1 again provides us some flexibility. Teacher certifications, we know that with certain subject areas and certain areas, sometimes identifying or finding teachers who meet traditional certification requirements, it proves to be a little bit difficult. We're talking mainly about CTE teachers. We're talking about dual credit courses where teachers are needed to teach those classes. And what we find sometimes is that sometimes it's necessary to actually consider employment for some individuals who may not hold traditional certifications or who may not meet traditional certification requirements. And so this particular exemption allows our district to actually develop its own eligibility criteria or requirements to best identify people to fill some of these positions. And again, we're talking about CTE and our dual credit classes. The Uniform Group Coverage Program also is included in the plan, which again gives our district the flexibility to select or to procure a group health benefits plan that actually is more responsive to employee and community needs. This flexibility would allow our district to recruit high quality teachers, and to also it would also give us the flexibility to identify or to develop programs, wellness programs especially, that will be beneficial to our teachers and in community also. So that is another exemption that's been included in our plan. And then one that was not previously included in our plan is the relief from term of depository contract. This is an exemption that we're seeking that would allow us to extend a 2-year contract with the bank and give us the flexibility to extend this particular contract for 2 additional 2-year terms. And what we would still do is at the end of each 2-year term, we would still look at whether the contract is still meeting the needs of the district, and we'd evaluate the contract, the terms of the contract, and look at that in terms of what again, what's working for the district. So these exemptions are the ones that are included in our innovation plan, and we are looking at, hopefully once putting this in place, having this plan be implemented for the 22-23 school year up into or through the 26-27 school year. So, and of course, look at it as needed to make sure that it's still helping our district meet its goals. So, are there any questions?
Do we have any public comments or questions? No? So, this is coming for approval tonight with the SRS, right?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna adjourn this meeting at 5:53.
Yes, good evening trustees and good evening guests and staff of Southwest ISD. I'd like to ask Mr. Roger Campos to lead us in our invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance, please.
Thank you. Lord, come and let your wisdom fall upon us as we gather today for this meeting. Give us clarity so that we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda. Reveal problem areas and show us the best solutions that will apply. Point our eyes to every positive outcome since our last meeting, and let these favorable results and developments encourage every heart in this room. We also continue to pray for the families and friends of Uvalde. We pray for those who have lost loved ones. Please comfort them in their grief and loss. Cover them with your peace and presence as only your Spirit can. We do these things and we ask these in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Campos.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to recognition.
Yes, we have Mr. Roger Campos happens to be by the mic, so we're gonna turn it back over to him.
We're gonna switch it up a little bit today. All right, we have one recognition today. It's for Palo Alto College Alamo Promise. So over the past several years, Southwest ISD has had the chance to partner with Palo Alto College on this Alamo Promise program. This program allows our graduating seniors to attend Palo Alto for 6 consecutive semesters or until they obtain their associate's degree. The program covers tuition and fees for all of our qualifying students. This award will recognize the 3 high schools on their Alamo Promise Savior Seat completion. Southwest High School had a completion of 92%, Southwest Legacy High School had a completion of 97%, and CASTEM had a completion rate of 100%. We would like to turn it over to Mr. Gil Becerra. He is the Palo Alto Vice President for Student Success, and he will tell us more about our recognition.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, is it on?
It's just for the web.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, thanks. Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Versteft, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here again. And so this is our kind of yearly update on Alamo Promise. And so as you know, up to date, we've awarded over $2 million of last dollar scholarships to students in the San Antonio area. And Southwest ISD is very, very special among those schools. They have the highest completion rate among their high schools. And so as Roger mentioned, 92%, which is an increase of 1% at Southwest High. And then Legacy went from 92 to 97%. And then, of course, this was the first year for Legacy, and they came in at 100%. On average, it's about 96% of all of your graduating seniors will be eligible for a completely free education at the Alamo Colleges District. And so this is at any of our 5 colleges, all 300 programs we offer will be completely covered. And then, I don't know if y'all are aware, we're also starting Alamo Books. And so Alamo Books will cover the entirety of books for students who are attending the Alamo colleges, whether they are Alamo Promise or not. So that's another added bonus. So previously, students were receiving the free tuition. Now it'll be completely free. In addition to that, we also offer OER, which are online educational resources, which are vetted and matched to the TEKS. In alignment with the SLOs at the institution. So again, that's another completely 100% free resource for the students. So again, the students will receive this completely free. Now, when we do these recognitions, one of the things we always like to point out is that it can't be done without good partners, right? And so those partners, it starts at the very top with Dr. Versteft, principals like Mr. Black, Ms. Wagner, Reve Schaefer, and of course, ultimately, the members of the board, right, who allow people to do their jobs, to allow the experts, the subject matter experts to do their jobs, to partner with us. And then in addition to the leadership, it's also the frontline personnel, the counselors, right? And so we would also like to recognize the counselors at these high schools as well. Mr. Estrada, Eric Estrada, Lindsay Allen, Alexandra Vallejo, and Catherine Hoffman as well. So we have plaques for all of them. But the big, amazing reveal are our trophies for each of the principals as well as for our superintendent, or your superintendent, Dr. Versteft. We'd like to claim him too. But they'll go ahead and bring in the trophies now. And we'd like to yeah, so you can add those to your trophy case, Dr. Versteft.
Oh, yeah, we want the new case.
Yes, there is. They have names on them. Yeah, they have names on them. Yeah.
You guys have a reputation having the biggest trophies around.
We stand by that. We stand by that. In addition, I also wanted to recognize our staff that we have here today. We have Federico Cortez, who works with CASTEM, and we have Nicholas Longoria, who works with Legacy and Southwest High School, and then our team lead, Carla Frausto, who leads our enrollment efforts in our Welcome Center, and then our Director for Enrollment Management, Liz Aguilar Villarreal. So they help make it happen, so thanks to all of them as well. I'm not sure if y'all have any questions about the data or about the effort or the scholarships or anything at all?
I have a question.
Sure.
So the kids that graduated last year, they were part of the Promise also, right?
They're part of cohort number 2.
Okay, and so how many of those kids actually attended? I know they signed up and
Uh-huh.
were eligible. What percentage actually?
I don't have that data in front of me. Carla, are you aware right now? I don't have that offhand, but I can get that to you. I can email that to you for all 3 cohorts. Yeah, I can provide you with that information. Sure, will do.
We really appreciate everything y'all do for our kids.
Well, thank you. We're very excited, and Southwest is in one of our top 5 feeder schools. We have a lot of your students that come to us. I think it says a lot about the trust, the partnership. I think also the community's, impression of the institution that we're doing good things there. Additionally, this coming year, we'll be opening our brand new Rio Grande building on campus, which is a 126,000 square foot facility. It'll house a dental hygienist program with about 35 different seats. We're also opening a nursing program as well, in addition to a welding program. We're also doing exploratory programs with music production, as well as automotive body and shop technology as well. So again, we're looking at high demand, high wage programs. I think that it's one thing to come out of high school and go to college and get a job, but I think making sure that they're high wage, high demand, there's enough positions in the marketplace to support those graduates. That's a big part of the research that we do. So we make sure that when we're adding additional programming, that there is space in the marketplace for the students so that they can go and support their families and go on vacation, have good insurance, and those things that make a good life.
Yeah, and then one other thing, I really would like to commend y'all on how through the years you've improved the easiness.
We're trying. It's not perfect yet.
Because I remember 10 years ago, it was really difficult, kids had to jump through a lot of hoops to get in there, and then they would just get turned off and would just not go.
Sure,
in.
sure.
But I think y'all have really worked hard to improve that process, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. We're working harder to improve it every day, and we're always open to feedback, whether it's good or needs improvement or whatever the case may be. But I think without that kind of feedback from our community members, we can't get better. So sometimes it stings a little bit, but we need that feedback.
I got one quick question.
Yes, sir.
This is something I've just heard from other parents and didn't know you guys were.
Of course.
But students that start off the first year with you guys,
Mhm.
they leave or don't go to school for the next year or go to a different school, and they decide to come back. They still get that second year, or is it just?
Well,
they leave?
what's happened is a couple of different things. We've really massaged the program, right? And so initially it started off that you had to have continuous enrollment, right?
Okay.
And then you had to complete so many hours in each semester. And what we've realized is that some of these students that entered the program are students that wouldn't have normally entered the program, may have been a little bit underprepared. And so we've been flexible and said, okay, you didn't complete 15 hours in the first semester, but you completed 12 hours, you know what? We're going to push you forward. And we've also looked at students who have stopped out and then tried to bring them back and say, okay, you stopped out one semester, we're going to go ahead and continue your eligibility for the program. Or we've looked at other incentives. In fact, last semester, what we had done was we said, if you had previously been enrolled at Alamo Promise, then you're eligible to come back and we'll give you 6 hours free. So it wasn't the whole complement, but it was some discount. So we're trying to kind of still feel it out. We're still in that first 5-year period. And one of the big criticisms of Promise programs is persistence, right? They get in, but how do they do? And we're happy to say that our Alamo Promise students do just as good as our other student population. So, we're working hard to support them, provide them with all the tutoring. We're now at Alamo College, we're at Palo Alto specifically, we've started embedded tutoring in what we call high-risk, high-challenge courses. And so we've embedded, instead of having this to tell the student, you need to go to tutoring, go walk to the tutoring center, what we've said is we're going to put the tutor in the classroom with you. And so it's group work, and the tutor walks around the classroom helping students do the work. And we're covering that out of our own pocket. It's part of a major program we're doing that's called embedded tutoring. It's part of our quality enhancement plan, which we're required to have. And so we're making sure that in those courses, those high challenge courses, which are, guess which ones they are?
Probably math.
Math, it's right, you're right on the money. It's math. So we have a certain complement of courses that are high risk, high challenge courses, and those are the ones we've targeted for the embedded tutors. So the tutors are actually in the course, working with the professor and helping the students as they go. So we've worked really hard, really hard to make sure that, you know, getting into college is one thing, staying in college is a different thing, right? And graduating is a different thing. So we work really hard to make sure that that happens. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to you, Gil, to Dr. Garza, your team, all of the college. We always talk about how fortunate we are at Southwest to have fallen in the territory of one of the best of the five.
Yes, sir.
Community colleges, and we never forget that. You guys have been nothing but done just outreach, and every time we call you particularly, specifically, you are always assisting us. You're always looking for ways to make it work for youth and to get them on track in college. And so just know that we should be giving you guys 6 trophies. We won't. But we should be. And I just want to say thank you. You guys are just a phenomenal group of folks to work with. And creating opportunities for our youth is essential and definitely a great thing that we all need to do too.
Well, thank y'all, and congratulations on your 96% average. Very high. Did you a photo? Okay, all right.
Principals?
Yeah, right, okay.
We want to get in there.
Okay, all right.
Let's get our principals out.
That's why someone employed me. Guys.
They're impressive. In front of them. They still show, yeah. Thank you. Roger, that's it, right, for recognition?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to public comments. Anybody sign up, Mr. O'Metal? Okay. All right, do we need to, yeah, do we need to give them time, or is everybody employees? I think everybody's good.
I think they walked out already.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any questions or any things we need to pull out?
I move.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Let's move on to items of information.
Chairman, we have a construction update. Yes, really just one big update, and then bring the team. We have Mr. Barajas, who's here. We have George here, as well as Margaret Mott, so they're gonna give us an update on our aquatic center. We're getting close, so I'm gonna turn it over to the group.
Yes, good afternoon. Here to present the update for the aquatic center construction project. We have Rusty Devlin with Doris and Sean Bacon with Marmon Mock. I'm just gonna let the drone fly. This footage was actually today. So,
Are you gonna do slides or anything after this?
I can step into it here in a second.
How about if I just go through this right here with you? So you've seen the project for the last 12, 14 months. This is where we're at as of today. As you know, we've struggled on some roofing elements and some wall panel elements. Those are finally finishing up for us. We feel like we have a July the 9th temporary certificate of occupancy date. That's going to be tough for us, but it will be thereabouts. So maybe the 10th, maybe the 9th, maybe the 11th, but it'll be, regardless, that will not change our grand opening date that we have set for August the 5th. So you're welcome to ask me any questions you want. I can go through any amount of detail you need, but I think that's probably what you're looking for.
Must be the little rust spot. What's that all about?
There's one rust spot that we left for you.
That's gonna be covered with.
No, okay, so this on top of the roof, it's actually a glue stain. It's actually a glue stain, so what you're seeing there.
Give me some
is-
gunk off and I'll get up there and get it off.
So what you're seeing, that doesn't have the metal roof on it yet, that's just the underlayment to the metal.
Mm.
So they'll treat that before they put the metal roof down, but you'll see on the left-hand side, you'll see, there's two, looks like lines. And those are actually stacks of panels. So they cut the panels today, they've got one more day of cutting panels, so those two lines is enough panels to do that side of the roof. Then we'll jump on the other side tomorrow and run those panels, and then, it'll take us about 7 to 8 days to install that roof, and then we'll jump down to the admin roof, and then finally the canopy roof out front.
Thank you.
So you'll see a lot of action in the next 30 days. The pool has got water in it today. It's got about 2 feet of water. Don't go swimming.
We're all excited.
It's got about 2 feet of water, and if you're interested, it takes about an hour per inch. So it raises about 1 inch per hour.
This is actually an approach. A lot of you guys have seen this already. This is the approach from going westbound on 410. Then an entry shot, but I want to get to the fun stuff. The interior, I think when the board had taken their tour, saw a little bit of this, but it's a lot further along than just last week. Well, there you go. There's the water. So it is about 1/3 of the way up. You can see it still needs to come up to about this point or right about here because it goes all the way up to the edge. You can see the bulkhead is complete and the starting blocks are installed. So we're on the final stride here. Finishes. And then, of course, MEP systems are started up. Flooring's already down, and you can see the protective covering tiles in. Here's some more of the flooring. So that's a quick overview.
In terms of our and the district purchases, we're targeting the 13th of July for all of the admin furniture to be brought in, assembled and in place. So that's going to line up right where the TCO will be. AT&T will be out there this week to tag the lines and actually set them out for the elevator and the fire alarm, which is critical to the TCO. So that should be done this week.
And when will we see pictures or a rendering of the plaques?
I can bring those back. I can actually email those to you. so
Okay. Thank you.
Everybody can see them in that, at the next board meeting happens for sure.
Okay.
We kind of sent them off already and got come back to us to approve.
Okay.
So we really rushed it so we can get them in time.
Yeah.
So I can get you copies of those.
And those are going, where when you walk in?
When you walk in, there's two, I don't know if you have a picture. of the
Yeah,
pillars.
that's what I'm trying to get to.
Right.
You know, when you walk into the building, there's two pillars with a canopy that, they're gonna be on the wall. There's gonna be one there that has, like,
Pointed out.
everybody that's part of the project, and then one for just the human.
So right here is the entry canopy. This is actually the roof to it. And right here is that column that flanks each side of it. So on the interior, as you walk through that space underneath the canopy, on the long face of that concrete column on both sides would be plaque.
One on each side.
We're having the building plaque and then the tribute plaque.
Okay,
So it's right at the entry.
awesome.
And then, I know when we were out there visiting, we talked about, the kind of golf practice facility. And so we kind of turned Norman Watt loose to sign something, and get some research, and we get George to price it, and maybe in July we'll have it ready to bring a change order before board. Using pricing, what it looks like.
Where did you say that was going to be?
That one picture, yeah, that one.
So right here is the entry canopy.
You're talking about the. no,
I'm talking about the golf.
Oh,
The golf.
That
one
Go back
overview.
to the main layout.
Yeah, so that back.
See those, that tree line right there, that's right in that area there.
Okay. Is that where the park's gonna be?
That's,
The playground?
we met with the city, and so, because they're partnering this, and so, we are working out where they want to put that.
So they don't know, we're using them if they'd rather have the sign for the Spark Park people or the track stack and put like goals and things out on that field, or put it here. So we're still working with them to determine what, like, between us, what we want to do.
Is that
Either way,
gonna
we
be-
could put stuff
Yeah,
ourselves.
I thought it was gonna be part of
Along
the
the
sports
fence.
foundation, so I guess I was confused.
No, it is, but.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't hit
anything
So they came out to see the facility, they saw the, not the aquatic center, they saw the golf facility, but they also really like the track because they think that that's their number one thing when,
Walking,
with parents, is they like a walking track, a
Yeah.
walking trail.
a safe
Put the
So
kids
they're
in
like,
the
well, it's
middle.
kind of way over there, so if the parents are walking and you have the equipment over here in this tree line, they're probably not gonna be.
right.
So they're saying, maybe we could do some things like soccer goals and then fixing the basketball goals that are right there by the.
I don't know
goal.
how you can put a golf thing if there's gonna be a walk trail there.
No,
No.
behind McCullough, there's the.
Okay.
the
The
track.
all, the all-weather track.
Yeah, so they were like, most parents, when they go out to walk the track,
They need,
where can their kids
where
do?
can their kids
And so they talked about soccer goals and different things that we could put out there
Kind of
besides.
see it right there, in the picture, right?
That makes
Yeah, the
sense.
Yeah, in the backfield over here, Johnny, that's where our track is. And so putting the sign for the Spark Park there.
And where's the golf gonna be? Right there by the edge of the parking lot?
Yeah, right in that area.
Now, would that be open to like the community fenced in?
No, that'll be fenced in, and then over time, if we get involved in a lot of camps and have the coaches can bring kids in. We'll have to just play it and see how it.
It's for practice.
See the
Like-
like a
Yeah.
putting?
Yes.
It'll be a
Putting.
putting green, a chipping green, and like 6 batting cages for golf.
Oh, for like the
Yeah, 'cause
drive.
they're not gonna be able to drive out the field, so
Right.
they'll hit to the cage. And we'll.
Well, they could.
Yeah.
The neighbors would want.
Gonna have a special cage, how to practice.
So they're gonna design something, so that's part of, they'll design something, bring it to back in July, so y'all can see it, and then with some pricing, and then we move forward with a change order, then they can work on that, but we want them to finish Aquatic Center first.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
where
Let's
exactly
make it
is
three
the
holes, par
extra
three.
space? The extra space for dry lands, or remember we talked about that?
It's over here in this corner. That's an outdoor.
Which corner?
right here, right
You see
here.
it?
Oh,
And all of this will be opened with those overhead doors.
oh, right.
We have a series of about 8 on the,
13.
on the south
And the
side.
parents will be able to spill out into the grass,
Right.
to the grassy area.
And so you can see some of those garage doors along this edge, right here, the glass
Well,
doors.
and also on the other side,
Chairs.
But on the, yeah, on the
Well,
south
it's,
side.
I thought y'all said that was for teams, because the parents need to be in the spectator.
well, yes, so the parents won't be, that's for teams,
Yeah.
like outside.
Spill out,
and then practicing.
overflow, yeah.
Yeah, the parents will get stands.
Right.
But like if it's open to the public, that may be a place that people go out to.
Are they gonna have like some picnic tables out there or something? For
Yeah,
people to gather for lunch?
Yeah, we're working on purchasing all that stuff, furniture, tables. And really, it's our first one, so we're gonna kind of play where, like, we need to put equipment out there that kids
Mm-hmm.
work out on. It's gonna be really up to the aquatic director and how we're gonna get that space.
Okay.
Especially if they need it for practice. Because they do a lot of dry land stuff too. So it's just- I think that's what you were referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
The exercise.
Do we have
All right,
any,
exciting's Coming along, we're
Yeah.
getting there.
any,
We're rusty.
any other questions on the aquatic center?
So
Any other questions? We're
besides,
good?
besides that, just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the legacy asphalt repatch that's done. We only have one item to be completed on Monday. The wrought iron fencing has also started this week. They started with Big Country. They're gonna move over to slowly. And then, let's just do an update on Sun Valley.
Sun Valley Elementary School's site renovation project is underway. We actually had our first project, they've been going for about a week and a half now. We had our first project meeting today. Moving along with all the demo portion of that work, tearing out all the bad asphalt and concrete that's there. We talked and they said that there is nothing as of right now. They have no material backups or hiccups because it's just really the biggest thing that we got to watch is concrete if it starts to become an issue. But as far as everything else goes, it's base, so hopefully it's pretty easy to get. But-
Okay.
And then on top of that, the elementary playground systems, they're starting to put the carpet or the artificial turf at Sun Valley Elementary. Medio Creek will be the next one. We're having a meeting with them this week to discuss speeding up the process because when they originally presented it to us, they talked about finishing by the summer, but at the speed we're going, we're not gonna make that. So we're gonna have a meeting with them internally and see what we can do to get more crews. Get that job.
Is Southwest the only one done right now?
Southwest Elementary is the only one complete. Sun Valley will probably be complete in the next week and a half. but they're
I
not,
have a question.
they're not getting far enough ahead with the demo and the concrete like they said they were going to in the beginning.
Would that be, that's only gonna be on our playground? There's another
Yes, ma'am.
playground that is,
Yes, ma'am. The PCI playground is not part of our contract.
We met with Head Start, because Head Start really maintains those, upgrades those, and they're going in with rubber, the rubber mulch. So they're going in and changing those as well.
okay, so
We,
they'll have something similar then.
it won't be the turf, but they'll be there, instead of the mulch, they're going in and they're replacing the mulch with rubber mulch. So they're gonna do something different. It's good stuff too.
Is it pieces?
Material, but it's still.
It doesn't deteriorate.
I was just wondering if, because a lot of them have pebbles still and, you know.
Yeah, no, they're gonna go in and clean all that out, get all the old mulch out, and come in with that rubber mulch.
At all the schools?
At all the-
All of the PCI, or all of
All the
the
PCIs.
kindergarten playground, the pre-K playgrounds.
Pre-Ks.
Elm Creek's got speakers.
Not
Yeah.
anymore. Soon, hopefully.
Elm Creek, that's the playground in the back of the school, right, that
Yes,
y'all are gonna do?
Yes, ma'am.
I had a parent call me the other day and ask me what those big white trash bag looking things are at Elm Creek.
That is the rubber mulch that the putting in the small
Oh, okay.
playgrounds. So
Mm,
a crew comes in, it's not the same crew. One crew comes in and takes all the old mulch out and then
Okay.
they drop those bags and another guy comes back and back to it. So
okay.
they're pretty close to being done with all 11 of our elementaries.
Okay,
I think they've only got like 2 or 3 left.
okay. Thank you, Thomas.
That's it.
For construction, that's it? Okay. We have the monthly tax report.
Yes, we're tracking pretty much where we were last year this time. We're about 93%, that's where we were last year, and then we'll go more in the end of July. That's usually a big tax collection day. But right now, we're tracking to get to, usually we get around 99.5 collection rate. So we're on track, so it's good news.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Okay, so I'm gonna go over these next few. If you have a question, stop me, okay? So we have the monthly finance report, monthly investment report, reports on gifts and bequests, enrollment report, a review of purchases over 50,000, calendar of events. They put this reminder. Does everybody have this or just me? Okay, so that's add on there. And now we'll do the 2022 demographic study.
Yes, ma'am. Give me 1 second. I need to put up. Sorry, sir. I mean, Roger Grant had me stumped there. for this. Anticipation. You got it ready, Roger? Yes, sir. Well, today we have with us Brent Alexander. I know most of you all know Brent. He works with us every year to kind of give us an idea where we're headed. He looks at our demographics, he looks at our different subdivisions, apartment complexes, and he helps us determine what those yields might be as far as enrollment. And so I'm going to turn it over to him. He's from School District Strategies, and he's going to give you some great information and ask questions. I know that he's going to kind of not cover every page, so he'll, if you stay with him on your booklet, he may skip some things for sake of time, but I wanted to make sure you had the full report so that if you want to look at it later.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all again. Hard to believe another year has passed. So I have our annual demographics update. So a lot of interesting items to share with you tonight. Let's begin with the 2020 census numbers that were released in December, in case you have not seen those. These were from the redistricting data released, like I said, back in December. And this is basically all we have at this point. So you can see here the total population in the district of just above 67,200, a little more than 20,000 total households. So about a 30% increase in total population and 44% increase in total households over the 10-year period. If you look at the chart on the bottom right, you can see they also released the data for population 18 and over. So we backed into these numbers, and it shows that the under 18 population did grow by about 18% over the 10-year period. Although the share of the population under age 18 did you see decline a little bit from 33 to 30. Now, we are kind of holding here with census data. What we understand from the Census Bureau is there will not be another release until May of next year. So that granular data down to the block group that we were wanting to see, especially interested to see that age of household data. We're not going to get that until next summer. So once I get it, I will certainly share it with you all. All right, so the official enrollment for the 2021-22 school year was 13,277. What you see here are all the 31 districts that make up the greater San Antonio area, all of their official enrollments for this past school year as well. At 13,277, Southwest is the 7th largest in terms of total enrollment in the San Antonio region. Now, we had forecasted on our numbers from a year ago, our low scenario just about 13,300 up to about 13,500. So these numbers did come in lower or on that low scenario as we talked about a year ago, and I'll expand on this further to, as we continue to see the impact of open enrollment and charter school expansion here locally. But here's the annual snapshot history for the last 10 years since the peak back in 2016. Enrollment is down about 4.4%. That's a net decline, just over 600 students. You can see the annualized numbers here with your numeric growth on the top right, your percentage growth on the bottom right chart. Now, remember that from 2019 to 2020, the district saw a huge impact from the COVID pandemic. This year we saw a consecutive year of decline, down about 1.5%. Now, what's interesting is when you look at the region, remember a year ago I mentioned from 2019 for the fall of 19 to the fall of 20, COVID really impacted enrollment all across the region. 26 of 32 districts lost enrollment. So this year, we did see some of those districts bounce back, but when you combine all of the numbers for the last 3 years and take a look at how the region has grown, only 12 of the 32 districts in Greater San Antonio have seen an enrollment increase since the 2018-19 school year. So everything shaded there in blue are districts where enrollment has fallen over these last 3 years. So you can see how the northern side, the 35 corridor, out Judson, Church, Cibolo, and Bronzeville, but out here in the west, really Medina Valley is the only district that see rapid growth. Now here locally, you continue to see the losses occur at the elementary level. It's a little bit stunning to see that since 2015, and that's an important date to remember what I'm about to show you with the charter schools, that since that time enrollment at K through 5 is down 16%. That's a net drop of about 1,000 students. So we have seen some numbers improve by grade, but overall, those numbers at the elementary level that we've been talking about these last few years, those smaller classes coming up for the first time, we're starting to see a little bit of impact at the middle school level. So you can see that number dipping below 3,100, but high school has continued to grow to record highs. And that really reflects the bubble that we've talked about for a couple of years now. As that bubble has aged up through, most of those students are now in the high school grade. So you have those record, or this past school year, you had record size class or grade levels there from 9th to 12th grade. The cohort survival numbers are in there. I'll move forward. I think this chart, it's the first time I've showed it to you. I think it really illustrates, or it's a really good visual for what's occurred here in the district. You can see up through the 2015 timeframe with the kindergarten and first grade numbers represented by the blue and the orange lines. You can see those well above the outgoing 12th grade numbers. That's characteristic of a fast growth district, which you were experiencing that up until 2016. And then gradually the erosion began of the younger students. And those numbers you can see growing back together. So in a lot of districts that are experiencing what you all are, we've seen that 12th grade number grow much higher than the number of the incoming students. So that's important for me, really, when I'm looking at our enrollment projections, because really when you see the disparity between the two, like if you go back to down here at the bottom of this slide, you see that the grade size there in high school is about 200 students larger than what's coming in. So each year you have to fall back and gain that back with new growth. So, but what we've talked about here these last couple of years, it's really had such a big impact on the district, is the expansion of open enrollment in local charter schools. This is the TEA's transfer report that was released this spring during the 21-22 school year. 2,455 students that live within the district boundary are attending elsewhere, and so you can see that number has grown by 1,800 plus students since that 2015 school year. So that is really on the. So the key takeaways tonight is you have two major dynamics occurring. You have this challenge that you all have where you're competing with local charter schools in neighboring districts with open enrollment, and that competition for those students, as well as a record enrollment growth. So, or excuse me, residential growth. I'll go through a couple of these slides quickly. These are the transfer out numbers. So these are the open enrollment. The San Antonio ISD numbers did, climb rapidly up to 2018-19, but they've since settled down. But the growth this past year was the South San Antonio area, or the district took up, or that number grew by 53 students, you can see from 2020 to 2021. Now note when you see the Hallsville ISD numbers, that's a virtual academy. So we've seen that virtual school impact many districts across the state, especially here during the COVID pandemic period. Really right here tells the story. Look at this expansion of what Idea Public Schools has done for students that live in the district. Just in 2016, a little more than 140, and it's grown to over 1,460 students. So that right there is why you have seen that major decline.
And these are all the people that we're competing against right now. So that's 2015 students we're using.
That's 2015 students that are going to another campus that isn't.
And these are ones that the TEA can track. So these are students that are, when they enroll in the other public charter schools, they provide their address, and it shows that they live here. And that's how they tabulate these statistics. So, and with the 3 campuses on the border, that's, you've seen the influence here. So, we've talked about that. We've tried to allocate for this in the projections, and it was actually a little bit more severe than we thought. So when there's some good news though, when you look out there, the birth rate's not declining. So when you look at the blue line here, those are annual births for local. The area is growing with babies being born in the area. You can see the 2018 and 19 numbers are the numbers there for 23 and 24. You move those forward, you can see those numbers have continued to increase. So ideally, we should see the kindergarten numbers move into that 850 to low 900 range based on historical ratios. So that's a positive. And then I'm about to show you some more stunning positives going forward. But in the report, there's additional slides. The race and ethnic distribution numbers, as well as the economically disadvantaged numbers, been very consistent for many years. So I'll let you all take a look at those. As we do every spring, we geocode. It's interesting to see the results comparing last year to this year. You can see in green, the areas shaded in green have grown. Areas shaded in red are areas that have declined. So if you look in the areas there that make up the Sky Harbor and the Indian Creek, Hidden Cove area, that's one of the areas that we've watched for a couple of years now. But this year, that area is down again, but now up in the Crewall Road Elementary area with the opening of an additional Idea campus up there. We've seen some heavy or losses up there. So over the last 5 years, this really tells the story. You all have lost the enrollment inside 410, as well as now up in the Crewell Road area, excuse me. But at the same time, the areas represented in green, the 1604 corridor, where you see just north of the high school here, you know, the Cinco Lakes area, all of that development, plus all the development down in the southeast portion of the district, east of 35, over to Highway 16, all of the growth that I'm about to go through. So there's additional information here. You know, we've had this chart where we've been tracking K through 2 enrollment. I'm going to go ahead and move ahead to talk about the housing market, because it's really stunning what's happening. If you'll move ahead to slide 33, I'll go ahead and just talk quickly about what's happening. The housing market in San Antonio through 2021 and into early 2022 is at record levels. But it is an interesting time. It's where the market is in a transition because of the economy and because of rising mortgage rates. So in the January, you know, the market was screaming along, and then all of a sudden 4 months, the interest rate's up 2%. So we're trying to figure out what all that means. Land prices are also up as new lots come online. Those prices for that more expensive land is being passed along into the house costs. So we're seeing more expensive homes, as well as the higher interest rates. So we continue to watch that. I don't think a year ago any of us were talking about 6.5% interest rates. So and what I've been hearing from builders, it's a mixed story. Some builders, they're just going to soldier on with methods that they've had over the last 2 years. Others are seeing that their lists have been of prospects have been worked down, so they're showing a little more concern going into the second half of the year. The key thing is that we're going to have to wait to watch this play out a little bit longer. But I have slowed some of the forecast numbers down at the end. We'll go through that here in a minute. But the slides are in here. The job numbers for San Antonio have been outstanding. We've seen the recovery from the jobs lost due to COVID, and then growth on top of that. Unemployment rate under 4%. We've also seen Texas be the leader in people moving from into Texas from outside the state. You can see this list here that the Census Bureau actually did put together on population growth in Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and Austin, all in the top 4, and San Antonio at 8. So, and 10 of the largest gaining counties in the whole country in the state of Texas. So, very interesting to see all that. But this is really the stunning thing over the last year since we last met. The housing market has really just taken off here over the 12-month period that ended March. Into March, there were 1,321 starts. That shatters the 2007 record. So that's really incredible. So, you know, one of the things that builders are doing, that start rate is way out ahead of closings. That's one of the ways they're helping to control costs by starting the units ahead of having them under contract. But most of the buyers are showing up. As you can see, the red line, which is actual move-ins, that has gradually grown. So look back where we were 2 years ago, back around 400, and now approaching 800 closings a year. So the developers have put another 1,900 plus lots on the ground. That's also the highest that we've seen in over a decade. It's interesting when you look at what's happening region-wide in terms of new home construction. Southwest is now ranked 9th with the 750 annual closings, but that start total is pushing Southwest towards the top 5. So that's interesting to see. So here are the top producing neighborhoods. You can see Cinco Lakes, most top producer. They've had over 260 homes started there. But look throughout the list here, you can see Preserve at Medina, almost about 200 there. And then look down Applewood, 136, and then Applewhite Meadows out on 16 has 154 going. So most of this development is feeding into Spicewood Park and the Southwest and Sun Valley attendance zone. So pay attention to this. This is, as you'll see with the enrollment projections at the end, we're going to have to really watch the capacity at Southwest Park Elementary as well as Southwest Elementary, excuse me, Spicewood Park Elementary. And also watch as these roll up into Resnick and the McNair attendance zones. The activity by high school zone is actually pretty balanced, so don't see a lot of anything to really point out there. But the price point of the homes are still mainly entry level and first move up. But note that the houses are now at a record median base price of $773,000, and San Antonio is up to 321. And so again, so these are all things we're watching, you know, as interest rates, wages have increased, but we also see appreciation on the cost of the homes. But right now, everything seems to be rocking along in the developers led by D.R. Horton. And so think about this: you have D.R. Horton, you have Syntex, you have Lennar, the three largest builders, LGI. You have the largest entry level and first move up builders in Texas and arguably in the nation, all here in the district building subdivisions. So when you add so you have nearly 1,700 lots on the ground. Those are finished and waiting for houses to be started. You have over nearly 2,200 lots that are under development. Another 4,200 or so that are planned. When you add all that together, you have 9,000 or so lots in the development pipeline going forward. So I'll expand on that here in a minute. In addition, the apartment developers have been very active. That number in the report is about 2,300, but there's additional apartment units that could be a VITA, and that could push that number over 3,000. So I think right now it's safe to say that that number is trending towards 3,000 and higher for planned apartment units in the district. So I've highlighted the areas of growth up there in the upper left portion of the slide. You can see that 1604 area. This is the Cinco Lakes, the Applewood, the Medina Landing, the Applewood Ranch Apartments are under construction. All of this area feeding into Southwest Elementary. So when you see those numbers growing, these are the growth drivers there. The other main area that is taken off, and isn't it exciting to see Legacy High School and Resnick out there, and here finally comes all the development after several years. So there, starting at I-35 on Fisher Road, in terms of Watson Road, you can see several of those subdivisions. Got some photos here I'm going to show you real quick. And then the third area to keep an eye on is the 410 and State Highway 16 area, all the way over to that far eastern edge of the district boundary with the Vita subdivision. Those lots are, in fact, these photos are from March, so they've actually got the streets in over, so you can drive into. They have the entry monument at Vita, and it has the signs up for Highland Homes and Perry Homes are coming in. So those are builders that haven't been in the district in quite a while, and so those should be nice homes.
Where is that? 410 and
in
what?
16. So if there's a right there's like a Valero. If you actually, is it?
That's the drive-in at Texas A&M. See that road right there?
Oh, okay.
That's the drive-in, right to the right.
Oh, okay.
That's the main drive, right in off of 14 and Texas A&M.
So is it Zarzamora? Is that, I think that's the mistake I made.
Yeah, that's Zarzamora.
Zarzamora is right here, 16's back here. So, but right in here is where their entry level or their entry point is going to be. We're also getting apartments that are coming in right here, through over 300 units. And then there's additional apartments that are.
How many houses and?
Right now, they have 1,200 planted.
1,200.
It could be bigger, but right now that's what they're sharing.
Perry Home?
but Highland and Perry. So, they didn't have a price point on there, but I'm assuming they'll be probably from the 300s. Back, no, so this Hunter's Pond, just remember that it's got a phase that that is finally up and finished, and they're building the houses now, and this feeds Bob Hope Elementary. Also note that coming through planning and zoning is the track there that would be to the east, the Smiley track, that would allow, you can see the road could punch out into this track and now add another 277 homes for that Hunter's Pond area.
277.
Wow.
And then right here is Applewhite Meadows. There's 16 over here to the right. So Spicewood Elementary, I believe, would be back over there. This is where they've started. This is Bella Vista Homes. They're one of the larger builders in Central Texas, and they've started about 150 houses there, and people should.
Who are all the houses that are already built? What is that? Hunter's?
This is
Pond?
Hunter's Pond.
Okay.
Right here. You actually can't access it. Which is, you can like drive up and look, but it doesn't, you can't drive into Applewhite from Hunter's Pond.
Okay.
But that's, several hundred homes right there underway. Also on the east side, we've watched the Misiones, Marbella, now Los Altos. They've continued to just fill in here, the Esperanza Apartments over these last few years.
Yeah.
So that area continues to work back towards the west.
So that's Loop 410.
And
What?
so 16 would be right over
And the apartments on the corners.
Those are
16.
way up there.
It's on the other side of Highway 16,
Okay.
on the Spicewood side. 14 in
Oh,
the corner,
okay.
14 and 16.
Okay.
All
In
those
the back.
houses.
So Spicewood has these subdivisions as well as the development around Resnick and Legacy. So that's,
And how many homes here?
well, this one is, I'm thinking it's off the top of my head, that it's about 400.
For that one quarter that's up at the top?
You're looking at different sites.
So they've got.
Oh, I'm
they've-
sorry.
they've
She's
developed
looking
it-
at the Marbella one. There you go.
Yeah, so they've got a couple hundred more to finish in here. And I think it may even push a little bit further. They keep platting small sections of land and adding it to it at a time. But what's interesting, when you go down further south on 16, so Toyota factory back over here, and turn on Watson Road, the preserve at Medina, where LGI has been, they are bringing in D.R. Horton with them. So look at this photograph. So this is 1,300 total lots, the whole planned development. So you can see all the lots that they've got going now, and then just, this is the same subdivision. Look at everything they've blown out there. So with D.R. Horton coming in, the two of them together, they're really developing out the whole thing.
And that's how many houses?
That'll be 1,300.
1,300, both of them together?
Brandon, do you think you can plan a road trip for us to see all the new, so we can get a better visual?
Heading back towards Legacy High School, Habitat for Humanity has another phase for Rancho Carlota. That's under development. And then right next to, I believe this is Somerset.
It's not gonna be
right
sitting
here.
no more.
So this is the Bristol at Somerset Apartments, 348 units or so. This is what was platted as the Tim subdivision. It is now Century Communities, and it is being called Mesa Vista. So they've got the big entry wall up and going there. So Century Communities, a big developer and builder out of Denver. Subdivision along I-10.
The
This
house
is between
across from Benjamin's.
Somerset, across from Benjamin's? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
across.
So, and where are the houses going, on that top right or
They'll
on
be
the
here.
bottom left?
They'll be
Top
right.
right?
The apartment complex is on that other side.
Oh, okay.
So, and also, this, reorient yourself, you're looking back to the southwest here. You have this land right here that KB, that we talked about a year ago, that they had started. That subdivision is now being renamed Medina Crossing.
Yeah, they put a sign up yesterday.
And then the apartments, another 348 apartments for Frontera Crossing.
How many?
They're all about 350. you know,
Okay.
Some are 340, some are 380 or so, but there's 350 on this corner, and then if you go back, so that would have been over here, and then at the opposite corner.
So we have enough land at Legacy in the
No, this is gonna
resident
be
compound
That's a
for elementary
These are
school?
gonna be
Okay.
apartments. They're going to be condos.
And as you move over to Old Parasol,
Yeah, I know what those look like.
you can see, I'm trying to get, this is actually Parasol. Here's Coleman, Medina, or Medio Creek is right here, elementary. And then right, I believe those are the water. Yes. The
Oh, yeah.
Crescent Hills subdivision, 550 lots. They're building, their houses started in there as well.
Who is that builder?
That one I don't know off the top of my head. I'm trying to.
It's right by
That
the,
long, skinny
it's
like
by
that.
the Traders Village.
LTI possibly. They're very small.
Those are like the houses by Cinco Lakes?
No, these are right here.
No, I'm saying, is it the same
Yes.
houses by next door to Cinco Lakes?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's what they call their
Express.
Their
ultra
start.
entry level, or
Yeah.
where they've gotten the prices down as low as 120,
120, okay.
So that's what you're seeing going up there. And then the Scott at Meadow Creek, that one, that apartment complex is just finishing its final buildings. It's been leasing now, and you actually have students from that complex.
Is Habitat built out?
Or,
Is it,
Medio.
they're done?
yes. This is interesting. At Solana Ridge, Horton is down to this final little section, but if here's 410, here's Walmart, this big open tract of land right there is being platted for over 600 build new to rent, plus apartments. So half of those, I guess, would be apartment units, but the build to rent would be basically 1-story condos, 2-story condos.
Where is that? Where up there?
So here's 410,
Yes,
here's Walmart,
yes.
in that, there on the west side.
Oh, yeah.
410, all this right there would be the cottages at Solana Ridge.
Okay.
So 1604 south of 90, Applewood, the apartments, Applewood Ranch Apartments. Cinco Lakes, look at this. You should go back and look. I almost put it in here, but what it looked like in a couple of reports ago when it was just dirt. And now look at all the houses, and they're really pushing to the west. When you just drive up there and see how they're up over the hill now with all of the construction. So
All
Cinco
that
Lake-
cleared land is southwest?
So this additional land here for Medina Landing. What's interesting though is Lucky Ranch is developing now. The majority of this is going to be in Medina Valley. They've got huge sections here into the south, but this little portion right here, pushing over the line, will be in Southwest. And then there's more platted for right in here.
For southwest?
Yes.
So southwest homes will be right behind Medina Valley.
So it will probably take a while for
Yeah.
them to get through this
That's right to the middle.
in Medina Valley, but there are pieces of Lucky Ranch that still remain in Southwest Side.
Down on Montgomery Road?
So I guess Montgomery would be back
Back
there.
Yeah.
All right, so forecast wise, when you take all of these individual subdivisions and apartments and forecast them out, we're looking at growing towards 900 to 1,000 closings by this fall. I've slowed it down a little bit. I could be wrong from the
I
economy.
noticed you don't have Melissa Ranch.
Melissa Ranch is in the forecast for both apartments and 190 single family up there in the Crewell
I
Road
pass that
area.
every day, so it's like.
So, so more on that in just a minute when we look at the projections. So I'm thinking that you're growing towards 1,200 to 1,300 closings here over these next 4 to 5 years. It could go faster than this. It certainly could if things settle down, but right now there's enough talk in the industry that I think we need to slow down the numbers a little bit.
So you baked in already the very recent talk of indicators and recession, all that, and you tempered the numbers
Because
already.
up until April, most builders are saying we're fine.
Mhm.
May, that's
Couple
not-
weeks, right?
that's- I think a lot of the builders have done what they call stress tests on their prospects with how high can mortgage rate go before they have to cancel.
Right.
So a lot of them are saying that they're okay up until 6.5, but if it goes higher.
And so you get your feedback from them more so than the talk about bear markets and the possibility that the government's gonna slow down so that inflation doesn't go
Since
up.
our residential side consults with them, they're often telling us, what they're feeling.
Yes.
And, they're.
It's more reliable.
Well, yes, so what they're saying is that there are still buyers coming to buy the houses. If things get a little iffy, they drop the price 20,000 and here comes a whole bunch of people on the sideline. So there's this game of buying the rate down, adding more incentives that are helping get the houses sold. So all of that's out there, but I have built in a little bit of a decline, especially for what you see in 22, 23.
Okay.
So we'll continue to watch that, and if something changes, I'll definitely let you all know. But right now, I think it's probably best that we plan this way. Yields wise, the numbers are still producing, or the homes are still producing an average of 0.51. When you go through these, you can see like Solana Ridge at 0.5, Reserve at 0.5, a lot of 0.3s and 0.4s. Those numbers, they say a lot. Traditional or fastest growth subdivisions in other parts of the state, you'll see 0.7, 0.8 typically. So that number being down from that typical number reflects not every student enrolling that moves into that house, and different buyer types, and it also reflects young buyers that have young children. So that's one of the things I've talked to you about over these last couple of years, is watching what the totals do in these express home neighborhoods as the kids age. Apartment wise, 0.45. If that's not unusual, we've seen the apartment yields go down as newer apartments that have fewer 3 bedrooms are built. But you all still have a lot of the income assisted units that are built, and those tend to yield much higher than standard market rate today. But rents are up 20% nationwide. It's a lot of places, it's 20%. We've seen people leave apartments in all the districts that I work with on these yields. Every one of them yields down on apartments. Now, where they go, that's the districts. Maybe they left the high density to get a single family situation. So, so with all that said, all the growth that's coming, trying to factor in further expansion of the charter schools and open enrollment. I think that all nets in you all being flat for a couple of years, and then the tide should be enough to surpass what we're seeing on the loss side, and then it has the potential to grow really fast. So once the schools, let's just say that the schools that are charter schools that are built don't expand, they fill up. At that point, you all should take off. If they stop taking 200 a year off your, then these homes and the pace of the homes is growing and gaining momentum, and people that are living in the homes are having expanding their families, and all of it And then boom, boom, here you go. And that's why I'm looking. So what does that look like campus wise? Most of the campuses, elementary campuses, have capacity to absorb the growth. The main ones to watch are Spicewood Park, Southwest, and Sun Valley. They're right there, and I've highlighted in pink as they approach their functional capacity. So Spicewood looks like it will be the first to get there. It's still a couple of years away. But with all the growth that's up here on 1604, Southwest is coming right behind them. If we see that additional development there at Solana Ridge, then Sun Valley could go over as well. As you roll up, that puts pressure on Resnick. If you look over to the right, in that 29 to 2030 timeframe, you're starting to get up to the 90% to 100% of functional there. So that's something to keep an eye on. That could grow faster if we see some larger classes come up. But while saying that residential growth is impacting the middle schools like Resnick, look at what the smaller classes are doing to McCullough. As those 40 to 60 student classes come up, McCullough falls into the 500 range. So that's really representative of the two dynamics that are at play in the district. Scobie is starting the same descent, falling, but because of subdivisions like the Melissa Ranch and the cottages at Solana, it would bounce back up. McCullough doesn't have anything but potentially one more apartment complex to bring it up. So just keep in mind when you're looking at the numbers. And then high school wise, both appear to be in good shape. Legacy, again, will start to approach 90% towards the end of the decade. All right, that's a lot to consume. Quickly, I'll answer any specific questions.
With all
at this point.
the housing, what about retail and businesses coming in to draw more people this way? Anything coming this way?
That's not something that I look at specifically, but obviously it follows.
Yeah.
And so you drive around and you'll see just right up there on 1604, you'll see a little retail popping up all around. We see the gas stations that come there on old Carousel in the last 4 or 5 years, and so now we wait and see if all these rooftops get occupied, then where are the grocery stores?
Well, I think it's just for the 410 Roosevelt's going to get an HB, I think. But I was wondering, like along 16 or along,
Yeah,
more
when
pure
we were working on purchasing property, and looking in the areas, a lot of the, especially the 6 a.m. area, even in those areas, they're plotting a lot of land for commercial.
Especially, aren't they supposed to start doing their own dorms?
Yes.
So then they would bring in the
Yeah, they have it done already. So they're gonna have a walking community across Main Ave that's gonna be all kind of commercial, retail, coffee shop like. So students who actually can live on campus or close to campus really never have to leave the area. So I know it's a really big plan as part of the master planning around PETA.
Oh, that's nice, like
But yeah,
biking and
commercial
stuff.
does follow residential.
Yeah.
We've seen that before. I remember going to school here, never dreamed to be a bit more 410.
Well, thank you. That was really valuable information.
Brandon, I got a question. What is for each child what's each child's, I guess, income that we brings into the district? So what is the yearly income for one child?
Well, one child that enters the district based, a lot of factors, but really, we have one kid show up, the basic allowance for our child is $6,100. And that's if they're based on attendance, because that's how we pay for that child. But if they bring in other, like school, they're bilingual, there's a weight for that. It's depending on the student, if they're DT, they bring us another weight. So the basic school allotment is $6,100 per student. One kid will generate us $6,100. Give or take a percentage of the rate.
Do you have any other questions?
Great information.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Always enjoy your report.
I didn't say good information. But it was great.
So surprised at the conference when they
Districts don't use
Brandon, how long have we been doing this report now?
I've been doing it every year since we.
So we started with Manuel?
Yeah.
Has it been 10 years? Has it been the whole time?
No, saying that.
Seven?
That's why Dr. Villegas was here.
Yeah, but I think we weren't doing it yearly and now we're doing it pretty regularly now.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Okay, we're gonna talk about this again.
So this one is gonna be a nice little recap because
Okay.
it does have to be in the main body
Okay.
of the board.
All right.
So I have Adrian Ramirez, and he is going to just recap everything we heard at the public hearing.
Okay.
So that it's on record that it is a new plan for the district of innovation plan
Okay.
going forward to be approved next month.
Okay, so this is item J, District of Innovation Plan.
So with our previous plan having covered us through the 21-22 school year, we've begun the process for developing a new plan. District of Innovation Committee has come together. They've engaged in planning, they've put a plan together, and they've done several things that are part of that process. And that includes presenting the plan to the district improvement team, presenting to parents in an open public meeting. And there are a couple of other steps that involve presenting a final proposed plan to our board and to notify the Commissioner of Education of approval. So what I'd like to do at this time is just kind of list what some of those exemptions, or what all those exemptions are that are included in the plan. And those exemptions deal with school calendar change, probationary contracts for new teachers, campus behavior coordinators, class size waivers, teacher certification, uniform group coverage programs, and relief from term of depository contract. The term that would be included in our new plan would cover us from 2022 to 2023, that school year, through the 2026-2027 school year.
This plan has gone up for 2 parent meetings. It has gone to the DIT, and it is also posted online for a month. And so right before we have our July meeting, we will have any input from the community. So to see if we need to make any changes or adjustments, but it was already approved by a 2/3 vote, both the DIT and from the DOI committees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on. Well, we're gonna put the superintendent section to the during closed session. Administration and human resource.
This
Item
is
A.
An item that was brought to us before, and so we're just making sure we have clear transparency. We have agriculture teachers who were working a regular teacher contract. That is not the norm in the city of San Antonio and in Texas. They have a lot of responsibilities in the summer that they were giving up their own time to make sure that the areas where the animals are kept and all of the other things that they need to do are taken care of. We are aligning ourselves with other districts and ensuring that we actually give equity to these teachers for the work that they do. So we're asking a change of their schedule to match what is a norm across the city.
Okay,
I move.
Second.
okay, we have a first and a second. Do we have any questions? If there's no questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, thank you. Okay. Business and finance, section A, consider approval of ESER 2 and ESER 3 federal grant amendment.
Yes, I'm asking the board, recommending to the board to approve the submission of the ESER 2 and ESER 3 grant amendments as presented tonight to the 22.
I'll move. I second.
Okay, James first, Peter second. Any other questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. B, consider approval of ESSA consolidated federal grant application.
Once again, I'm asking the board, recommending to the board to approve the submission of the ESSA consolidated federal grant application for the 22.
I move.
I second.
Thank you. First and a second, do I have any questions? No, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. Item C, consider approval indefinite quantity contract for miscellaneous general construction work. RFQ 2122-160.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Bilikus is handing out the updated, we were still working on reference checks all the way through yesterday. So finalized them this morning, and this is the list of contractors. So the indefinite quantity contract that we carry allows us to have general contractors already approved, so we don't have to go through this process every time we have a small project that we need to give out. It's too big for the maintenance staff to handle, but really kind of too small to go out on the street with. So we try and keep this list. This is the fourth one that I've been involved with. It's a 3-year contract with 2 additional 1-year extensions. It expires at the end of this month, or at the end of July, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, at the end of June. The new contract will start July 1. So
How hard to get on this list? You know, what do you have to do to get on this list? Do y'all post it somewhere?
it is posted just like we do all of our other bids, and
Posted where?
Put it in the newspaper.
put it in the newspaper. It's on the website. Purchasing department has it. Jason, Mr. Morgan helped me put together the RFQ. It goes out as a packet. They have
Fill it out, bring it
2
back.
weeks. They bring it back, and then we evaluate. The biggest thing that the toughest part is going through and getting the reference checks from other people that do school type work. So that was why we had to bring the new one tonight, because we're still waiting on people to get back to us. A lot of people on vacation. Things like that. So, but we have a rating system. We go through, we check and make sure that they meet all the qualifications, that they have the insurance and bonding power that they need to have, that they have the office like here in San Antonio. There's other things we look at. We look at their financial stability to make sure they give us a financial report, so we're not missing something there. Sorry. And then we check references and past history with the district is really the majority of the points. So that those are the process we go through. And so we have a scoring system of 100. We picked a line this time before we started as anybody above an 85 would make the cut. And so we had, out of the 13, there was 8 that we are recommending for approval to be on our IDQ contract. And that list is there.
That contract for how long?
It's 3 years and then 2 additional 1-year extensions.
And so when you have a job come up that applies to these companies, do you have these companies
We
bid on
send
it?
the invitation out to everybody that's on the approved
Okay.
list. That allows them, they don't always all respond.
Mhm.
Like if we have 8, depending on what the job is and how big it is, some of it is more suited for a smaller contractor.
Mhm.
And some of these guys are a little bit bigger contractor, but some of the smaller guys can't bond some of the bigger stuff. So
Right.
it just kind of depends.
So you just send it to
We send
all
it out
those
to
eight?
everybody,
Okay.
every job, we send it out to all of them. And then we have a pre-proposal meeting that if they're gonna bid on it, they're required to come to. And then
Okay.
we host that meeting, and usually we get 3 to 5 out of the 7 that we had last time. So,
And then y'all look at that.
and then so they're pre-approved now, we go basically low bid, and as long as everybody's bidding the same scope of work, which that's the ones that we put together, Mr. Rojas and I and Billy put together those projects, and then we bid them out. And then we get them in low bid, basically, because they're already pre-approved. Then we can move quicker to contract and not have to worry about going through a 3-week process of checking all the references and everything.
How many lists of contractors do we have for the various different types of work?
We have the general contractor IDQ, which this one we're recommending 8. We also have an IDQ for electrical contractors, because there's times where we do specific things, like where we have to replace just lighting poles and things of that nature, where we need them to come in. We don't use that one as often as we use this one.
Who else have our
Architects and civil engineers.
Okay,
I would say all in all, we probably, RFQs for our department, we have about 7.
thank you, Thomas. Okay, we need a motion.
Second.
Daniel made the motion, Mona and Jane second. Do we have any other questions for Thomas? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I recuse.
Okay, Peter Brunel. I guess abstains or
Yeah,
takes himself
abstains.
out of it. Okay, that passed. Let's move on to D, consider approval for change order number 1 to the asphalt repairs at Southwest Legacy High School and Resnick Middle School.
As I mentioned earlier, the general contractor or the contractor performing the asphalt repairs is almost complete. However, due to the portable relocation project, we need to provide access for conduit for both for electrical, fire alarm, communication. So we have asked Pavecon Ltd. to provide us a price. This will be above and beyond their scope. So we're coming to you for a change order to Pavecon Ltd. on an amount not to exceed $6,000 to their original contract. And our recommendation is that the board approve change order number 1 to Pavecon Ltd. in the amount not to exceed $6,000.
I move.
Daniel seconded that one. Any questions? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you. E, consider approval of Crewell Road Elementary Fine Arts Equipment, Supplies and Furniture.
Yes, ma'am. In getting ready and transitioning Crewell to the Fine Arts Academy, similar to what we did with Hidden Cove, the board approved to help with furniture purchases and changing kind of the landscape and kind of like the graphics, the signage. So we're asking the board to approve $200,000 so that we can begin that work, start transitioning the signage, the graphics, also giving the Fine Arts Department and the campus the opportunity to make purchases to help start up the campus this year. So recommendation is, I would say this is a fund balance item. But to mention, I want to make sure you're aware of that. Asking the board and recommending the board to approve the Crewell Road Elementary purchases in the amount of $200,000.
And the main school sign change to add the.
We would change the main school, we'll probably look at that, with the marquee,
Yeah.
or graphics, we'll probably do a little time, so we can do it by the time it opens. But
Okay.
right here is a transition.
When are we gonna start marketing for the new school?
We're in kind of a dilemma right now. The principal who's really key, been through the TSDS training and presented the presentation,
Right.
is out on protected leave to report back July 1.
Okay.
There are a lot of folks doing things, but I think we want to be considerate of the principal being
Sure.
part of the final conversation.
Sure.
So to answer your question short, we should be able to get together the first week in July
Right.
for the first time since the end of May.
Okay.
for this project.
So we should potentially have maybe at least 4 weeks lead time to inform the community, not just our community, but other communities, that there's a fine arts school going here.
It is going to be a marketing priority. That and also to go and do research and look into the other 1,800 students who should be coming to Southwest who are not.
Right.
Like equally important.
Right, and send them maybe information about this academy or whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah, but I want to be completely transparent. This whole Crewell Road Fine Art, whatever we call it, is in limbo right now. And so we still have some issues to work through and work out. And we definitely need to jump on the marketing at ASAP. And we feel that and we hear that. And
Okay.
so we got it.
Thank you, Lloyd. I think we had a motion. Who, what, Pete?
I move.
Okay, do we have a second?
I think you do.
Flo? Any more questions?
No.
No? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. F, consider approval of Crewell Road Elementary Corridor and Cafeteria flooring renovation.
Yes, ma'am. If y'all remember last year at Elm Creek, during the Christmas break, we had to redo the cafeteria and stage on all the VCT flooring. In addition, during the spring break, we came back and started working on all of the corridor VCT tile. We did additions to both Crewell and Elm Creek back in 2008. During that time, nothing was done to the floor. Those buildings were built in 92, 95. So that 20-something years on that floor. So over time, with just the normal wear and tear on top of waxing and stripping every year, water has finally kind of gotten under that floor, the same as what it did at Elm Creek, and the tiles have started lifting. They've kind of buckled and lifted. It's really bad, like on the days when the kids are sitting inside waiting for the buses to pick up, because once one pops, one sees it, so then they all start popping. So we've been trying to glue them back down and make it last as long as possible. But we are at the point now where it's becoming a safety hazard, tripping hazard for people. So we are recommending that the board approve Azteca Designs to go in and redo cafeteria, stage, and all corridors, except the 2008 edition. We're not going to do that. It's still in good shape. The total contract amount would be $109,775. And it would be a fund balance project, and it would be completed during the month of July. We would wait until summer school is completely done there at that campus, and then jump in. We have a plan for the contractor to go from one side and the custodians to go from the other, because they still have to deal with the classrooms, because we're not taking the classrooms are still in pretty good shape. So we're going to swap. So that's the plan, to get it done before teachers come back in August.
Okay.
Were the classrooms not done yet in?
No, no, no,
in-
don't-
at Elm?
no,
Okay.
only corridors and cafeteria.
Yes, okay.
How old is the school?
I believe it was built in 1995, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so we get into future bond budgets.
Yeah.
Next ones. So is that flooring lasting what it was supposed to last?
I would say it outlasted it.
Yeah.
95.
We've extended it as far as we can. We've been trying to glue them back down, and now it's just becoming kind of an eyesore because it's kind of patchworked. And
I
we're
move.
just- you can't get the colors that are there anymore. It's 20 years old. They don't make that color anymore, so we're having to switch out.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were moving towards. You can't get the same dialogues even 5 years later.
Okay.
If you have something wrong, you can't.
Thank you, Thomas. So Pete made the motion. Do we have a second? Daniel seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. G, consider approval of final change order number 4, final to the Southwest High School Phase 3 renovation project.
Yes, ma'am. CanCon Ltd was the general contractor for Southwest High School Phase 3, which is now complete. And we're coming to you with a final change order to bring back unused contingency in the amount of $164,250.63. Fluger Architects and SWASD staff have reviewed the credit and prepared the final change order number 4 for the amount of, again, $164,250.63. This will be going back to the district funds, and it is our recommendation that the board approve change order number 4 to CanCon Ltd. to reduce their contract by the said amount.
I move.
Thank you.
I second.
Okay, any other questions on that? No, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Nothing under curriculum instruction. Dr. Bursup, you want to say anything before we go into closed session?
Just want to thank everyone who put those presentation public meetings together. Brandon, Francis, and all y'all crew. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't know what the work that Letta Zavala does in making sure that we account for funds that are being used for ESSER is extremely tedious. Brandon was explaining it to me, and I thought we were at it. So I just want to recognize and commend her. She has to go in and put actual students that are being impacted through the funds, and it's just like any government county entity. It's a mess. But she's taking really great care of it for Southwest. So I just want to thank all those folks. There's some theater productions that are taking place this week. You have it in front of you,
Yes.
starting tomorrow. Then a couple opportunities the day after that on Thursday as well. I want to thank Francis. She is leading our Case Week, which is our training with our principals. We were all out at Holiday Inn on 151 yesterday. We did a long day, a great day, I think, on restorative practice. It's how we work with our students, how we work with our management discipline techniques, and how we create a better rehabilitative environment than just a punitive environment. So they're out there again today, and we'll be out there the rest of the week this week. So just so you guys know, if you don't see our vehicles, we're at Holiday Inn at 151. And it's really great training that was taking place. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Verstup. So as permitted by sections 551.001 551.146 of the Texas Government Code, we will go into closed session. Going to go back into open session at 8:34.
I move that we approve the recommendation of the superintendent on personnel.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Pete second. Pete won. Okay,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, that motion carries. Dr. Bristow, one
Yes.
last thing.
I'd like to introduce some folks who are moving to new positions in the district. Do you want to do it or you want me to do it?
I'll be happy to do it for you, sir.
Go ahead.
And so we are happy to introduce the new principal of Indian Creek Elementary is Mr. Richard Riojas. From McAuliffe as an AP, so congratulations on your new position. And then leaving Southwest High School, we have Miss Jackie Rodriguez, and she will be the new principal of Cass STEM. And then leaving the position of Sun Valley Principal and joining us here at AHR as the Director of Schools, we have Veronica Quinca Wilson. Very good. Evan? Go ahead.
Yes, and I'd also like to announce, because we hired really, really well tonight, did a great job, that my work is done here. So the board also submitted to the court intent for retirement effective June 30th of 2023. So a full calendar year, but I wanted to know that we formalized that meeting, and I'm just so appreciative to have the opportunity to work here for good people and great people, and to really watch people rise in our system is nothing but a point of pride, me personally and professionally. So I just want to make sure I make that.
And I would like to say we did not want to accept that letter of retirement. It is with every heart that we can, because we love you. Anything else? Close? Okay. Then we will adjourn this meeting at 8:37.